And then I learned how much amazing work veterans and horses can do together. And so I was like, oh, let's see what we can do with that. So during the rehabilitation process of these animals, which a lot of times we'll rescue them and rehome them, we started training them. And what I learned is big picture, even though you've gone through trauma and you've been abused and you've had horrible people say and do things to you, if you choose to heal, you can heal others. So these animals that were thrown away and abused are now used as equine therapy animals for not only our veterans, but children with special needs come here every single week. And some kids that were not even able to speak are speaking now. And kids that had no confidence, like, are running the horses around, riding, doing all this stuff. It's changed how they work and their motor skills and who they are in school. Like, the parents can't rave enough about this program.
All right, crew, welcome back to part 2 of this week's episode of Game of Crimes with Murph in the Morning. You can see Brittany has agreed to continue talking to us today. Thank goodness. And I mean, I can honestly say the show, I'm in my 5th year doing this podcast, and I've never had anybody on the show like Miss Britnie Turner that we're talking to today. And it's all good. It's, you heard we was talking yesterday about former Miss North Carolina. So you think it's this little petite thing that's going to, break a fingernail and probably go on suicide watch. And that's not at all what we got here.
Oh my gosh.
Brittany, so I want to ask you, what does your family think about everything that you've done through your mission trips and the companies you've started and the wealth that you've gained and the notoriety, the successes in your life? What do they think about all this?
I don't know. I haven't really asked them.
Do they still talk to you?
Yeah. But I have not, obviously I've got a lot more knowledge and wisdom, but I'm very real and raw still. I can't stand when people are pretentious. And so I still treat them with the same love, respect, and goofiness that I always have. And so I don't think they think other than they know how hard it's been, and they understand to just pray over the warfare that we deal with as a family, myself and Jeremy, but they're not like, wow, they're your family, Yeah. I'd say they would say they're proud of me. But they're, not like talked about that much.
Do any of them work for you or work with you?
No, but I would say almost all of them, all the girls are entrepreneurs and the boys are engineers, but they still have become versions of real estate investors on the side too, which has been fun to see and be able to share that skill and gift with them and encourage them to do those types of investments.
Did any of them move to Nashville where you are?
I had a little sister move to Nashville. She did work for me for a couple years and then went on to do her own media production work for different nonprofits all around the world that do amazing things.
Excellent. Not that has anything to do with the story, but it's just, you guys were a very tight-knit family growing up there in South Carolina. And
we still are very tight-knit.
That's great to hear. Now, there was, when I was doing my research on you, I found an article in Forbes magazine, this from 2017. And this one sentence that they ask you kind of stuck with me. And the interviewer says, where do you see yourself and your company in 5 years? And you answered, I'll be running aerial and developing third world countries. For the last 7 years, I've been practicing in areas that have been considered blighted or hopeless. And I want to practice what I've been doing overseas. So how's that going since 2017?
Well, I developed the island, which is called the Aerial BVI. Everything's the Aerial, or everything's Aerial something. And what has really become more clear to me than me physically going and doing that real estate development, which I always thought I would do, and I do have that skill, it's mostly been developing people and developing people through the island. And the next phase of it is going to be called Heal, which is its own really kind of weird story. So I'm walking on the island about 3 years ago, right by the horses, and I'm just doing a hike and praying, and I heard God say loud and clear, build, heal. And I was like, what is heal? And I just said, a place that people are going to learn to truly find healing, and they will learn a new way to live. You'll also help people find alternative ways to heal from cancer. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I turned around and looked at this little mountain on the island that I've never even hiked up. It's 43 acres. I just never even been up that one. It's just kind of never cleared a trail down there. And so I ended up getting a trail cleared and went up there, and it's the most beautiful view in the whole place. It's amazing. And so it's stuck with me. And I've thought about, what does that really look like? Okay, maybe it's because my best friend died of cancer and it would be to honor him. And so I've been building aerial recovery the last several years is my main focus, but thinking of this and especially working with these veterans, seeing what this island does to them, because there's something very special here. No matter what background, religion you've come from, people that were even visiting on a day trip from a boat that knew nothing about it, they step foot on this island and they say, whoa, there's something really powerful here. And I think it's the Holy Spirit. But I had an atheist tell me one time, he said, I don't believe in God, but I feel him here. And I was like, oh, so there's only so much I could have done to make this place great, because it has this really special, I don't know if you want to call it energy or what, I don't have words for it, but there's something very different and like an overwhelming healing essence to it. Not just, it's beautiful, it's different than the other islands around it. And so it is a place that we already use to heal different people groups. And it's a sponsor of the Heal the Heroes program, in letting it use the space and work with these veterans and go all in. And so it's just been very cool to do this stuff. But one of the biggest problems that our veterans deal with is their physical bodies do need healing. And when you live in chronic pain and you have this kind of like trauma, there's got to be another level for it, which is why, some people say that different psychedelic treatments, plant medicines work with them. We don't do that. We try to give that authentic experience of connection without having to do a substance. But I've heard that works really well for them. Anyway, so the goal is to build a place that people learn how to heal. And I was like, okay, so for the last 3 years, I've been thinking about it, praying about it, creating the plans for it. And then a couple of weeks ago, I got it all teed up, put the whole thing in, made the business plan. I'm ready to even find partners to bring this thing to life. But I took the word cancer out. I was like, oh, I don't want to put the word, I don't want to be Cancer Island. Like that, I just took it out just to not scare people. And literally that day I got diagnosed with cancer. I'm like, dang it, I'll put it back in. I'll put it back in. Fine. I know. And so it's been really interesting, Steve, because in that little school, taught me all that amazing stuff I keep referencing in my story. One of the classes they had us do is they had us write our eulogy. And when people ask me how have you been so driven? How have you been so focused? How have you grown all the stuff you've done? Yes, it's sponsored by remembering that little girl, but the methodology for pulling it off has been every year I write my eulogy. And I do that because the first time I did it, it really woke me up, because I'd always planned on being a missionary. I was a really good kid. I was a goofy kid, prankster, blah, 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 but I never actually told people how I felt. And I never lived intentionally. And that day I really woke up. So if I want this story to be true, then I need to live an intentional life. And so I've been doing that. But now, actually getting diagnosed with something like that, because I would use that in my talks and say, it's like the top exercise I tell people to do, people with a terminal illness live the most intentional lives. And then to actually be the person teaching that class and then get one, it's just interesting. And it was cool because I wouldn't change anything. And I'm very proud of that. I would probably change how stressed the heck out I've been for several years, but trying to even reframe my perspective on things so that I don't even experience it as stress is going to be a big deal. So the type of cancer I have is not a good one. And it's supposedly the kind that keeps coming back, even if you do beat it, which sucks. And so it's funny how God told me to build this thing because I will need it to survive. And I'm kind of like the perfect client for it because the surgery for this type of cancer is horrendous. And I don't feel currently any peace about going that route, especially if God told me, like, you're going to help people with alternative ways to heal from cancer. So I am doing some alternative ways to heal from cancer. And then we can do another episode later when I tell you exactly how I beat it with these really cool out of the box methods, and we can share it and hopefully helps a lot of people. But
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I haven't been that scared because I feel like it already is like sitting in purpose world, and I know we're going to help a lot of people with it. But it feels like a major new piece of this calling because instead of going and developing nations myself, not that I don't go do a bunch of construction projects for aftercare facilities, that happens all the time, which is really fun. Yeah. But going and like redoing an entire city in a country and bringing in tourism, doing all that stuff, that's not my way in which we're helping the world. The way in which I feel like God's focused us is to build this literal army of good doers called the Force for Good, and helping them find that clarity, that purpose, that strength, that confidence, and then helping them break off all the things that are distractions, be it an illness, be it a broken, sad relationship, be it limiting beliefs, their financial constraints. Like, what is the thing? And that's what's been so cool is this island helps people with breakthrough unlike anywhere else. And we're just going to level it up now with new ways to heal yourself, new levels, because we are stuck in this body. And if this isn't functioning right, you really can't help a lot of other people when you're distracted with something as big as cancer. So anyway, well, that's the plan.
A lot of people would take a diagnosis like that. I've never had cancer, so I'm talking completely out of school here. My sister did. She beat it. She passed away a couple years ago from something else. But a lot of people, I can see where a lot of people would take a diagnosis of cancer as a symbol of defeat in your life and let it change their trajectory or what their life's purpose is. And that's what I love about bringing the people on the show here, because they take these negative circumstances with the situation they've been dealt and they turn it into something positive. And that's exactly, if you don't think that, back up here about 5 minutes and listen to that part again. That's motivational. That's somebody that is looking at that glass as half full, not half empty. Very motivational, inspirational, all those good little acronyms that go along with that.
That's authentic, though. I really authentically, the first minute, you cry because you don't know if it's all over your whole body and you've got 3 weeks left to live. But I knew in my soul knowing part, this was a gift. And I haven't figured out the gift yet, except for just going through the experience, like seeing what the normal routes are and like the types of thoughts that, like, just feeling it, and the whole time documenting how do I plan to help other people out of it, because I am defiant enough to try new ways and because I know they work. I've got friends that have beat stage 4. Like, there is new ways to do things out there, and it's going to take people dedicated to finding those solutions the same way we break through everything else in the world, like ending human trafficking, to dedicate themselves enough to find and go through the hard stuff to figure it out and share those solutions. And so I, now more than ever, Steve, am grateful for people like you that are capturing people's greatness, that are capturing these little things that you'll pick up from people's stories, this way to get through stuff, to overcome, to forge new pathways in thinking, to like be able to keep things like suicidal ideation at bay, to drug addiction, to, what people have said about someone if they get haters or bad press or whatever. Like, you are capturing this for it to live on and on and on and on, and to continue to help people become stronger. And so I'm honored to be on the show, because that has been the clearest thing for me now is not only will I build this, but we're all going to die someday. What is going to live on? I'm 37, diagnosed with a not good cancer. I've got a 2-year-old little boy. The good has to keep going. The good has to keep going.
Yep.
So thank you for what you do.
No, it's like I told Jeremy, you're on my prayer list. But tell us the name of your little boy. I know what it is.
A funny name. Gosh, this Jeremy talked me into it, but I love it. So the biggest name we agreed on is Bear, and it's because Jeremy's nickname was Jer Bear. And so it's kind of like a junior way of saying his name. And then his middle name is Danger. So he can say, Danger is my middle name, which is hilarious. And we've trained him that if you ask him what his name is, even though you can say Bear, 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 he will not say his name is Bear. He says his name is Danger, which is really cute. So, and,
That's
he
fantastic.
lives by that, truly lives by it. My gosh, he's jumping off of everything. It's so funny.
That's fantastic. That's, and this thing with cancer, this is a new part of your testimony.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do on this island, on Ariel Island? You talk to people to help them to realize that their past circumstances don't have to dictate their future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I'm seriously, we will continue to pray for you, but it's just, I think that the good Lord does not give us more than we can handle. And I think that, you're progressing so much in your faith, and he's given you responsibilities that you're living up to, and he's giving you more responsibilities. I don't understand it. None of us have that wisdom. I don't know that we'll have that once we get to heaven, but I hate to say it gives you more credibility, but it does.
That's all I need. Miss North Carolina wasn't enough.
Yeah, there you go. So
no, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate the faith being added to it.
And just so you know, the story that you told about how you met Jeremy is pretty much what he told us last week. So Good. He's not in the doghouse.
Good.
Okay, so now you've got Ariel running, and this is not just one company. You've already talked about a couple different things, but how many companies fall under that umbrella?
I still have several, but my main ones are The Island. It is a resort that hosts guests for everything from people buying out the whole island to host their transformational retreats to people renting rooms and coming and experiencing that change for themselves. And then we obviously work really closely to support the nonprofit and everything we can, from getting people's attention here to understand they're making a difference by staying here and supporting those initiatives that the nonprofit does, to sponsoring the Heal the Heroes program. And then the animal rescue initiative is actually here on the island, which is cool. Our main one is called Redemption Ranch. And I love repurposing. If you'll learn anything about me, it's freaking redemption. And so we rescued these horses that were on their way to being slaughtered for meat, and 4 zebras that were on their way from a zoo to be hunted, these sweet little baby zebras. And so we have a bunch of rescue animals. And then really watching Jeremy and interacting with them during some of his most anxious moments, I Googled horses and veteran. And then I learned how much amazing work veterans and horses can do together. And so I was like, let's see what we can do with that. So during the rehabilitation process of these animals, which a lot of times we'll rescue them and rehome them, we started training them. And what I learned is, big picture, even though you've gone through trauma and you've been abused and you've had horrible people say and do things to you, if you choose to heal, you can heal others. Mm-hmm. So these animals that were thrown away and abused are now used as equine therapy animals for not only our veterans, but children with special needs come here every single week. And some kids that were not even able to speak are speaking now. And kids that had no confidence, are running the horses around, riding, doing all this stuff. It's changed how they work and their motor skills and who they are in school. The parents can't rave enough about this program. School children that are in sexually abusive and physically abusive families come here and do a whole identity exercises with us. And then we also bring in survivors of sexual abuse to do hippotherapy. So I thought we were just going to rescue animals because that was literally one of the very first initiatives, that original gangster vision of that nonprofit I started before we transformed it with the veterans was set out to do. And now these rescued animals have become healers. So the island hosts that ranch too, which has been really fun to expose people to the nonprofit through the work we do on the ranch.
So here's the animals that have been rescued from death, and they're paying it forward.
They are.
Animals.
It's super fun. Yeah. Some of our heroes said that was like 20 years of therapy in one session.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic.
And there's no words. There's no words. It's all energy.
Yep. Now, so you're living as an expat, basically, when you're the BVI in the British Virgin Islands. Do you get input or sarcasm or feedback from the British government? Are they aware of everything that's going on? And
they're very proud of what we're doing. Good. You know, a lot of the people doing that own private islands are billionaires that use those islands as like a getaway. And I don't blame them. It's really nice. It can be private and all that stuff. But this island is meant to be a light and to have so much resource, not only come into the BVI to bless them through job opportunities and bringing the school children over and gardening programs and all that stuff, hospitality, but also making people aware in tourism. But so we're orchestrating good for the BVI, but they're also really proud in the way I use BVI. And one of the cool things was the government met me. They didn't meet me as an island owner. They met me re-roofing a school after the hurricane. And so they thought I was a relief worker for the longest time. And then going through the process of buying it, they're like, wait a minute, you're with this, you're like Richard Branson, who's my neighbor, you know, and Larry Page and all these guys are like, oh, you're an island owner too. I was, yeah. So it was just, they really appreciated that I was here for the community in its darkest days with an authentic heart, because I didn't have the contract on it during that time. I lost it during that time, and I got to purely serve this place. So it's just so cool how God works. You never know. I try to remind myself to know it's going to work out and that God will make it a cooler story later. You just have to know that in the middle of it not working the way you want it to.
Yeah. Which is not easy. That comes back to that patience thing we talked about yesterday.
Yeah. Right. But the question is, how do you use an island as a force for good? And we're doing that. But I want everybody listening to this, whatever you have, even if it's just a car or just a couch or your house, like, what do you have? Because everybody has something. How can you use it as a force for good?
There you go. Very well said. Very well said.
Thank you.
How, can you get to the island by car, or you have to come in on a boat or plane? How do you get there?
It's an island. You can't drive to an island. It's a boat here.
So well, there's this thing called bridges.
Yeah, no, there's no bridge. It's a real island. So no, you fly into another island, then we pick you up on a boat.
Very cool. I hope to get to visit the island someday.
Well, I'd love to have you out.
So let's see here. What else you got? You got some kind of a media production company going? What's that about?
Yeah, that was really started as rebranding the neighborhoods, because these areas that I worked in, people didn't believe in them. They're called Stab City, Murder Acre. And I realized the control that media has on communities in the world, which is it's embarrassing, actually, how much control media has. And so I was like, well, the good people need to have media too. So how do we shine a light on what is good, on what is pure, on what is working, on solutions, and talk about the good things in this neighborhood. This neighborhood might have a lot of murders, but they've got a beautiful park and they've got a view of downtown and they've got a river and they've got this and they've got this. And what you focus on expands. And so if you focus on brokenness, you're going to get a lot of brokenness. And so what I've focused on and use that media company to do is to first help with my revitalization of different neighborhoods in the United States, and then helped shine a light on BVI after that hurricane, and helped people see why it's worth coming back. How do you do tourism as a force for good? Because people hear a nation gets destroyed and they're scared to go back.
Right.
Oh, well, we don't want to. No, they need your job. They need jobs. If nobody's coming here, everybody's completely screwed. So please engage in tourism after a certain amount of months, you know? And so pointing out, really sharing with people how they can do good in these developing nations. And then we've also worked with a bunch of different clients and helped tell their stories and make sure that what makes me mad is when good people say, oh, I'm not on social media. And I'm like, well, your kid is, so if you have something amazing you can be sharing and doing, please get that message online as well, because if only the people doing bad are out there, then kids are going to think that's all that's available. So again, another reason why I love what you're doing, because you give people something powerful and inspiring to be listening to. That awesome content.
You and I mentioned this yesterday when we were talking on our pre-call is doing things to help you're sacrificing your life to help your fellow man. And there's no higher calling than that. It even says right there in the Bible, it's all about love and hope. And you certainly don't want people to lose hope, because that just leads to despair. And then you have suicidal thoughts, and
right.
I have to be honest with you. I was shocked to hear about your suicidal thoughts. I probably would never think that about you, not now that we've known each other for a good hour and a half. So you judge people, or you can figure people out there at the beginning. I would have really never thought that about you, but also I would have never thought that about Jeremy. And he told us his suicide story. I have told my family that if they ever find me dead and it looks like suicide, call the cops, because it's a murder. But you never know what life's going to throw in your path. You don't know. There's evil everywhere you go. It's a battle you have to continually fight. So aerial recovery, and this is one I really want to get into with you. This is a registered 501c3 nonprofit, right?
Yes. And
so rather than me telling, what is aerial recovery and what do you do with that?
So we've been talking about it throughout both of these episodes, but aerial recovery is the nonprofit philanthropic arm that all the aerial entities support in any way they possibly can. That was always my dream. It's very similar to Virgin Group. That's like the charity arm. And so it is its own individual 501c3 registered nonprofit that repurposes veterans and first responders to go save lives and stop evil. And under that, we have a bunch of initiatives. So we have disaster relief. We have first we have the Heal the Heroes program, which is where our operators come from. So Heal the Heroes is everything from suicide prevention to just honestly, we believe in these men and women. They are so capable. My gosh. And when I learned the suicide statistics, I was like, this is ridiculous. These are the people with the solutions to some of the toughest problems on the planet, and they're taking themselves out. Again, doesn't compute because they are the chosen ones. But to be able to show them what they're capable of through even a documentary itself is like eye-opening for them, because many people believe the lie that their mission died when they left the service. Which is ridiculous, because I'm like, just come to Honduras with me. Just come to Peru with me. Just come to India. Let's go. You have all these skills. You're so good. They're so effective. Again, as an entrepreneur, looking at the case study of repurposing these men and women to do this work, it is second to none. They're the best in the world. They're the best in the world. So anyway, Heal the Heroes is our core initiative, which is where our operators come out of. And we use those operators, and we give them the opportunity to serve, which is the purpose piece. Some of them are struggling with different things. The only thing we promise is to provide purpose. That's it. We will help you find your purpose, because we're really good at that, and opportunities to serve. So if they want to come do disasters with us, then they go to training for that. They become qualified. And some people are like, well, why do they need training if they've got all these skills? I said, well, you don't need to shoot anybody in a disaster zone most of the time. And do you know what to say to the mom who just had all 5 of her kids wash away in a surge? All 5 of her kids got pulled out of her hands. So we do a lot of trauma-informed training as well. Like, what do you say to the parent who's holding their children that all got smashed in that earthquake? What do you say? And so we really give them that ability to be God's hands and feet in those darkest hours. So that's our disaster relief, everything from training to these amazing missions. We were big help during the Ukraine war. We saved thousands of people, specifically orphans, and moved them away from harm. Again, we're humanitarians. We're going to help humans to the best of our ability. And then we were big at Hurricane Helene. We had enough donations come in that we could stay there for a long time. And that's a big thing, is people stop funding most of the time when news goes away. that one, it really allowed us to stay there for a long time and super help that community. So disaster relief and then anti-human trafficking, which is my dream come true since I was 12.
Yeah.
Actually getting to live that dream. And not all of our heroes can handle doing the direct rescue piece or the undercover operations piece, because it's so hard to hear the kind of vicious, disgusting things these vile people are saying about these innocent, sweet kids, and the pictures they'll show and the way they laugh. Like Jeremy always says, like, he's seen a lot of bad things during war, but he's never seen evil until he got into anti-human trafficking.
Yeah.
And I would say the same. I didn't even know, based on any horror movie you could ever imagine, that people could be so evil, so sick, like to the level of depravity in some of the cases that we see with infants. And so anyway, there's a lot of them, and it's horrible. But one of the quotes that we really live by is that evil will rise when good men and women do nothing.
Absolutely.
It's really hard for me to talk to people and they're just like, la, 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 I can't hear about it. And I'm not even telling them like details of cases. They're just even talking about trafficking people. Good people do this. And I'm like, well, guess who's not doing that? Evil is extremely organized and they get along and they get their plans done and they make sure there's routes and their money's right and like all that stuff. So good people have to be willing to have the conversation. So appreciate what you're doing. So we have anti-human trafficking, and then we have our animal rescue program, which rescues and rehabilitates the animals like we just talked about. We also do a lot of animal rescue during disasters. People will not leave their house unless their animal comes with them many times, which I appreciate. Those are family members. And we have special needs kids programs. We have a feeding program in Ecuador where we feed 380 kids a day. And that is a prevention program now, because at one point these disgusting group of pedophiles were taking advantage of a disaster in an economically broken area. And when they realized how desperate this population was, they said, well, we're building this hotel chain. It was a sex hotel chain for pedophiles to come in and rape these little kids in the community.
Oh my gosh.
I believe around 400 of them had been victimized in some way. I don't have the exact number, but the parents were allowing it to happen because they didn't have money to feed their kids, and malnourishment was the number one issue around there. So we have a feeding program, and it's changed the whole community. It's eliminated the trafficking going on in that area. And we got those bad guys, helped to get those bad guys arrested. So it's been really cool, the array of projects. And some of my favorite is taking people all over the world, different backgrounds, and a lot of entrepreneurs to mission trips where they get to serve and see, just like you said, people need to go live overseas. We give people the opportunity to go overseas and actually get to the front line of need where they're making a life-saving and changing impact. And it's not even that hard. It's not even that expensive. It's not a handout. It's a hand up. So we have really cool ways to give people these opportunities and experiences to stretch it. So it sounds like we do a lot of things, but it's all under the umbrella of saving lives and stopping evil. And it's super effective. But we need to grow. In the last year, God has miraculously opened the door for us to be the signed right-hand nonprofit organization for the whole country for anti-human trafficking in Honduras, in Peru. Jeremy's signing in Ecuador this week, which is amazing. We've got different states in Mexico. We've got different cities in Argentina. And so the doors have opened for us to actually be handed cases and have the opportunity to help these countries. Everything from training their law enforcement to undercover operations, aftercare. Like, America needs all this stuff. Everybody needs the best in class tools. And that's what we're doing. We're taking what's working here. What are the common denominators? How do we share and spread and scale? And those are most of the awards I won is scaling awards. Like, speed of growth and all those things. And it's because it takes a lot of notes. It's something you learn when you live in your car. You take a lot of notes. You can't make the same mistake twice. And you really analyze, like, what is the recurring theme? Same thing we did with Healed Heroes, same thing we did with Redemption Ranch, same thing I do with developments. Like, it's capturing what works, templating it, taking it more places. It's not the first and last disaster. Who else could use this information?
Right.
Who else could use it? So we're sharing solutions and doing rescue operations in these countries, but we do need to grow just financially. Like, with those open doors, we probably need to double the amount of donations that have come in order to do those well. And so we're grateful, and we're standing in faith and trusting God to make that happen.
Excellent. That's the way it should be. How many, I got a list here of humanitarian missions that you guys have been on, but I know it's not comprehensive. There's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And I know you guys have done more on that. What would be a ballpark figure you think of humanitarian missions you guys have done since you started Ariel?
Oh gosh, we've done 60 as of yesterday, anti-human trafficking missions this year. This year. Yeah.
Really?
So we've done a lot. And it's hard to say exactly this number of missions. We could probably count it up, but we've kind of said, like, this is how many countries for disaster relief. And so we've been in more than 20 countries and done either disaster relief or anti-trafficking. And normally, if we say we've done a mission, we've done it like one operation, 6 missions. So, but just over 60 this year alone, and there's more happening over the next several weeks. So it's going to be an amazing year. Yeah, we're very excited and very proud.
Well, and that just shows you the depravity involved with human trafficking, that one organization alone, because there's other. I went to the UN last month, and it spoke over there to an anti-human trafficking conference, symposium, whatever they called it, and over 600 organizations worldwide had registered. And you're just one, and you've done that many rescue missions.
Wow, 600. Well, we didn't even register for that.
Yeah, it was shocking. And I love what you said about the donors, that you take them on some of the missions, not specifically human trafficking, but the humanitarian missions. The benefactor that paid for us to go to the United Nations went with us. His name is Ben, and I'll just leave it at that. What a fantastic human being, young man. Has been successful in business, an entrepreneur. And 2 of the people that went with us on this trip were former victims, a 17-year-old and 18-year-old girls that were rescued in Colombia. And they were given the opportunity to speak themselves and tell their story. And even Ben and I look like little children there crying, just, man, if it doesn't break your heart, you're a cold son of a gun. Whew. It's horrible what's going on out there. And that's the reason for our regular listeners. You keep hearing me bring people on talking about human trafficking, and you hear me contemplating about it, because we got to do something. We got to make the world more aware. It's not getting better. It's not getting better. So God bless you guys.
The world's not aware. Like I said, the good people can't organize themselves to create everything from laws to a plan of action to how to defeat it, how to prevent it, how to rescue those enslaved, and how to help them heal once they're rescued. So it sucks because we have to update all of our presentations. That's not what sucks, but the numbers I'm going to share with you sucks, because it's gone from $150 billion a year industry to $236 billion a year industry in just a few years, as one of the fastest growing criminal enterprises in the world. Yep. It's the drug people can keep reselling. And the really crappy thing is that there's not even $1 billion organized to fight it. And most of the nonprofits that are trying to fight it don't get along, which is insane. I don't know if it's because I've got an entrepreneur background, but I'm like, we need to all work together. Let's share resources. And people are like, no, like, wait. So not to talk crap, but to wake up these orgs. If you say your mission is to help people, then you better say and keep that as your mission, not to get a raise or to impress your board or whatever. You've got to stay focused on the mission, because that is the most important thing if you dare be in charge of an organization like this. So it's it's too important of work. But do pray for those people, because the darkness that likes to eat you alive And this line of work is different than disasters. It's just different. And I think that, whatever, I'm just going to say it the way I know to say it. And I don't have all spirituality probably figured out perfectly, because I don't think anybody does. But darkness does not like when we fight to protect these little ones. And I know the seeds that are planted in their heart when they're sexually abused like this, which are not true, they're lies, but they're lies of worthlessness and many times suicidal ideation and wanting to get out of their body because that's where the trauma happened. That's why many times they struggle with substance abuse and all those things, or they eventually become perpetrators themselves. Like, there's so much that can happen negatively later if this kind of evil continues to prevail, and then this becomes the next generation. And so it doesn't want it to win. So instead of talking crap about an org, find a way to truly try to bless them and pray for them in this work, because it's hard work and it's not for the faint of heart.
You're not kidding. I mean, I can't even talk about it to you and start talking about victims without tearing up. And I took some stat off of your website for aerial recovery that almost 50 million victims worldwide are involved with human trafficking. Almost 50 million. Mm-hmm. That's just staggering.
There's more slaves than ever before in history, someone told me. And I was like, really? They're not all sex slaves. It also includes organ harvesting, child brides, labor, child sacrifice. Like, that's in that number, but people aren't. It's because it's not obvious. It's like a hidden thing, I think, is why it's scaling so fast.
Yeah. And like you said, it's accepted in some parts of the world. Yeah. It's horrible. It's horrible.
But we have ways to defeat it. It is possible.
Yeah. Even if you just, I told them at the United Nations, because you've got the United Nations here, which representing the government, the states, and then you got the alliance of the nonprofits. Why are you two not getting along? They're not.
Right.
They're not. And having worked in the government for 38 years, it's like pouring molasses. It's slow as Christmas getting anything done, and they don't have an unlimited budget. But when the board members are sitting on that podium up there as we're speaking, and you see them checking their emails and they're laughing to each other, how serious are you taking this?
Exactly. Can't even.
It's frustrating, very frustrating. And Ben and I had that conversation while we were there. Oh, Lordy. Now last month, you guys had a rescue mission or a humanitarian mission over in, is it Cebu, Philippines?
Yeah, they just left like 2 days ago. So there's some big earthquakes out there. And we were one of the only nonprofits to go out and be able to distribute aid. We partnered with Global Empowerment Mission, which is like the best partnership ever, because they're an aid organization, and we're like the right people to get it in and be able to deliver it in some of the worst, most difficult locations to get to. And so there's not a mission we haven't completed, which we're very proud of. But you try telling these guys they can't figure this mission out, so they're good.
And it's just not in other places around the world. It's here in the United States as well. When there's hurricanes, when there's tornadoes, when there's flash floods. I see you guys. I see Seth and Jeremy on a lot of the videos. You got post a lot of videos on social media. And I'm going to throw out the social media sites here before we finish. It's just amazing. And I'm glad you said that about that other company, because my question was, okay, so how many people did you send to the Philippines?
5. I believe it was 5.
And what can 5 people carry that's going to benefit all these people that are suffering over there?
Well, there's everything from carrying to Global Empowerment Mission funded them going to different parts of the Philippines to empower the Philippines and be able to take that aid from there. So Global Empowerment Mission gave us a grant, and our team was able to purchase those goods and all of that aid in country and take it to the rural areas where they lost everything. The roads are cut off, landslides, rocks, giant boulders going through homes. And so we always try to buy in country whenever we can to be able to support them. And because people don't think of the economy piece, and a bunch of free stuff comes in, all these businesses die. So if you can source things as locally as you can, it ends up being a blessing as well.
That's not something I ever thought about. That makes perfect sense though, what you just said.
Yeah. Can't compete with free.
Yeah.
Hard to compete with free.
Yep. It's just some rough stats I found on the website. It looks like you guys have worked with over 200 heroes in the Heal the Hero program.
I think we're at 232. Yeah.
Wow. And I don't know if you listeners heard that, you first responders. It's not just military. She threw out first responders.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if you know this, Brittany. You probably do because you're pretty sharp. But the leading cause of death in law enforcement now is suicide.
No, the leading?
Yep. Sad as that sounds.
I would have known it was high, but I would not have known it was the leading just because it's such a dangerous job. It's huge. We really love working with law enforcement. They do better in anti-trafficking because so much of anti-trafficking is law enforcement, because we don't just go in there and shoot people up. It's like everybody's first question is, do you kill them? We're like, no, we work with law enforcement to find the bad guys and help capture all the information they need to be able to put them away and get them off the streets. But it's not that we haven't thought about it, but we don't do it. We don't. And so the previous law enforcement do really well. And then they also can take their law enforcement skills and upscale the local law enforcement, because they want to do good. There's so many that want to do good. They just don't have the funding to do training. And so it's a force multiplier when we can go in and train their law enforcement with all of our team's skills that they basically can forget and do in their sleep. It's really profound. Even stop the bleed. There's been a partner force that before we were partners with them that did a raid and walked in. The wrong person moved. I think they shot an 11-year-old. They bled out and died. And so they just didn't have a stop the bleed class that anybody knew. And so the kid died. So we just had one of our first responder paramedic heroes go down there and teach the first stop the bleed course to ever happen in that entire region. And so you have so much to give. And that's one of our fun things is, even if you can't do undercover operations, you can sit in a room with a bunch of police and teach them some skills. Again, that's an amazingly beautiful way to give back.
And just because we have it here in the United States doesn't mean that other agencies around the world, especially impoverished nations, get any training at all.
And they're very grateful for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see, over 8,000 humanitarian rescues in just 3 years. Wow.
Yes.
I got to say this.
It's almost 8,500 now. So I think it says 8,400 someplace, but we need to update it because it's just so effective.
Yeah. And I don't mean to be a smart ass when I say this to the listeners, but what have you done to help anybody this year? It's just heroes. I mean, that's what these folks are. And I'm right there with you. I'm not criticizing you. I'm right there with you.
No, thank you.
So let me ask you this then. So for the future of Britnie Turner and Ariel, what do you see for your immediate future, and what do you see happening 10 years down the road?
Oh, wow. Good question. I think I've gotten a lot more focused since being diagnosed. Not that I wasn't ever focused, but it's just the focus has shifted. God told me to help people with this 3 years ago, but I didn't have the tools of knowing how exactly to do it. And everybody lives in a body. Everybody lives in a body. So I know that helping people heal at an even different level and in their physical body will be a big part of my future. I think that the common denominator of all that we do in the nonprofit and honestly the for-profits I have is helping people heal, is helping people connect to their creator and to find a way to be a force for good. So we're just adding some more tools to that rucksack, as Jeremy likes to say. So I know that I'll be on my own personal journey of figuring this out and continuing to support the nonprofit any way that I possibly can as I beat this. So that's got to be kind of one of the top priorities. And then as I give my skills to the nonprofit, teaching them how to continue to template what we're finding as best practices and scale those globally. Because if all we did for the next 10 years was save one kid, that it would be worth it. We wouldn't get very many donations, but But, settling in your heart that you do it for the one, I think is the most pure way to run an organization. Is like, it is always worth it for the one. So don't ever not follow up on something because it's life or death what we get to do. So for me, it's scaling the great work that we're doing, and continuing to put in those legacy pieces, because I don't think I'm about to die from cancer or anything, but like, we are all going to go. How does this good continue to go, whenever it is your time? So that's what I think I'm going to do, and raise my beautiful little boy to be the next generation in this work. However God is calling him to be someone that helps others.
Wow. Leaving that legacy. I like it. I like it. And just so you know, she mentioned her nonprofit and her for-profit companies. So her real estate is for-profit. I mean, still got to pay the bills, but some of the projects you have are, I remember reading one where you created, it was an apartment or condo complex for rising stars or rising artists in Nashville, which, there's hundreds or if not thousands of them. I think there's another apartment complex you did that, I don't know if it's low income housing or, you're doing things to benefit people that don't have the money that they would like to have, but they still need a roof over their head.
Yes, I've always tried to. I've never gotten a government grant for anything to be able to offset the costs on those things, but I've just tried, like, if I'm entrusted with a piece of land, how can I do good with it? If I'm entrusted with this building, how can I do good with it? Those are just really helpful questions. And that's what I want our listeners to be asking themselves is, anything that God entrusts you with to steward, how can you be a force for good with it? Because it will just bring you a lot more joy on the journey. You might be not the max profitable in doing that work, but it will come back to you, and you will be profitable overall, and you will be successful overall. So I am still very involved in my for-profits because I don't take a salary from the nonprofit. I've been able to do everything I've ever done with this as a volunteer, and I'm grateful to get to do that, but mostly doing it because when you meet these kids, you're ruined. You're ruined in the best way. And if I have the ability to not take a salary and to get that money to help more kids, we would do it. And people ask all the time, like, why don't you have a jet to go back and forth to the island from us? If we had a jet, I would sell it in 24 hours. If somebody even gifted me a jet, I would sell it in 24 hours and fund a whole year of Heal the Heroes, or however many years of jet. I don't know how much jets even cost. But like, that's what we end up doing with our money is we just really believe in this stuff and see too much impact to slow down.
Yeah. I mean, this is a God calling. There's just absolutely no doubt about it. I want to brag on Brittany and her organization here just a little bit under her leadership. And this is a very long list. I don't know if I'll get through all these awards and recognition, but sixth fastest growing woman-owned company in the world by Forbes magazine. Number 3 for fastest growing urban company from Fortune magazine. Best in Business and 40 Under 40 and Women of Influence for the Nashville Business Journal. 30 Under 30 in Nashville, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. Inspiring Women of the Year Award 2019 from Women in Philanthropy. Women to Watch, that's from the Council for Women in the Workforce. Entrepreneur Winning Women, Ernst & Young. I know you can't see Brittany right now, but she's blushing from embarrassment.
Very much blushing.
Glamour Magazine selected her as a hometown hero. Enterprising Women Magazine, Enterprising Women of the Year. The Mary Lehman McLachlan Economic Empowerment Award from Women Presidents of the organization. The Gershwin Award and the Charleston Award from the National Association of Women in the Real Estate Business. 2021 Successful Women in Business to Watch from the Startup Weekly. And it just keeps going and going and going. I can't imagine anything that you could do in life that would make you more proud than what you're doing, other than raising Bear to become a responsible young man. And quite honestly, I feel pretty confident that that's going to happen. You guys are having your 4th annual Aerial Recovery Gala coming up in Nashville.
Yes.
And this is posting on November 3rd and 4th. And the gala is the end of this week on November 8th at 6 p.m. in Nashville at the Marathon Music Works.
Yes.
If they couldn't find a speaker and they said, what idiot can we get? And they looked at me and I said, okay, So I'm not.
Steve is our keynote. Steve is our keynote. We're so excited to have you on, and we're so excited to hear from you. Thank you for being passionate about this cause. Thank you.
There's a lot of things that I do that I'm proud of, and this is right there at the top. You know, like I said, if you're helping your fellow man, you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in life. If you cannot attend, you can still make a donation. You can still buy a ticket. You can buy a whole bunch of tickets. You can buy a table. All you have to do is go to aerialrecovery.org, aerialrecovery.org, and do your thing there. I want to give you some social media, and I'm going to put these up on a little sign here so you'll see them as I'm reading these. But Brittany also has a podcast of her own that's called Broke to Awoke, not just woke. It's not the political word that's out there. It's Broke to Awoke, Awoke podcast. Check that out. On YouTube, you can find Aerial Recovery. Plus, I saw a lot of interviews with Brittany on there. None as good as this one, I'm sure. But
of course, no way.
That's Murph's opinion. On Instagram, Brittany, and just so you know, Brittany is Britnie. Okay, it's not the EY. So Britnie Turner, and you can also see your Aerial Recovery group on there, and there's several aerial accounts there on Instagram. Facebook, Brittany Faith Turner, and also Aerial Recovery. TikTok is Britnie Turner and Aerial Recovery. X is the same, Britnie Turner and Aerial Recovery. LinkedIn, Britnie Turner and Aerial Recovery. And their website, there's a couple websites here, BritnieTurner.com. Go take a look at it. I had been looking at Aerial Recovery, and I just found that yesterday after we spoke, and truly impressive. That's where a lot of my information came from.
Thank you.
So that's BritnieTurner.com and also aerialrecovery.org. Before we let you go here, Brittany, any final words of wisdom, advice for those who are listening to this interview, or just anything you'd like to leave us with? I mean, this has been so inspirational for me.
Well, thank you, Steve. I really appreciate you having us on and having Jeremy on and the team. We're so focused in the work. It's hard to come up and breathe and share about it. So we really appreciate you doing that and getting people who are aligned with this work to join in the fight, because it's required. There's so few people doing it compared to how big the need is. And so every single person is welcomed. If I had a final thing to share.
Nothing like being put on the spot, is it?
Yeah, I think it would be to remember you are here for a reason, and the world is better off with you in it.
Absolutely.
So live an intentional life, and if you're not experiencing joy or peace or purpose, even having those three things, you can still have like a lot of tough stuff going on. But if you're not experiencing those, then ask yourself, what really matters to me, and how can I start doing that every day? How can I start doing it even a little bit? What can I put in alignment with that calling? And so you can have that joy, because it matters a lot.
Excellent. If somebody's interested in partaking in Heal the Heroes, how do they go about doing that?
So our website, aerialrecovery.org, has a section about Heal the Heroes, and you can click to nominate or sponsor a hero. It does not cost you anything to nominate. Obviously, it helps to keep the program going for people to sponsor, like any other initiative. But if you know someone in need, please, please, please nominate them. And if you have the availability to sponsor, if you're very passionate about veteran programs that work, we need to keep those going so we can keep the program running. So both are very, very important. And that's how we get everybody, is somebody nominating them.
Can you nominate yourself?
Yes. And we love when they do. And you don't have to think like, I'm all messed up is the only reason. Like, I like this work. I want to deal with my stuff so that I can be a more powerful force for good. I don't want to take this darkness with me anywhere. And we all have it. It's trauma or whatever. I want to move forward in life. And so you absolutely can nominate yourself. And we love when people do, because it means they are going to do the program all the way. They believe in it. It's not something somebody could have convinced them to do. They wanted it. And that's what we're looking for too.
Excellent. Excellent. Mm-hmm. And just, you guys hear me mention this frequently on here. If you're contemplating suicide, if you just think you need somebody to talk to, there's a number out there, 988. That's our national crisis hotline here in the United States. It's manned 24/7, 365. They speak English, Spanish, and they have translators for I forget how many other languages. The person that answers that phone may not be the therapist or the counselor that you need to talk to, but they will put you in touch with somebody. So don't ever think you have to go it alone. There's help out there. They're waiting. That just if you're going through extreme depression and anxiety, you just need somebody to talk to. 988. That's all you got to dial. I think you can even text it.
Nice.
So, Brittany, holy cow, this has been one hell of an interview. Thank you so much for your openness and your transparency. And sorry, I made you cry. Don't tell Jeremy because he'll break my ear off or something when I see him at the gala. But we truly want to support you. I will continue to support you here on the podcast as well as in our personal life. Listeners, maybe you're not in a position or where you can go do undercover to save people or go participate in a natural or a man-made disaster, but we all got a checkbook. So you can always donate. I'm sure that not a single dollar will be turned down. So having said all that, thank you again, Britnie Turner, Britnie, just so y'all don't forget. And thank you to all the listeners for continuing to come back to play the biggest, the baddest, the most dangerous game of all, and that's the game of crimes. God bless. See you folks next week.